We're going to have Juliette Simoneau speaking about all things healing. Juliette, welcome.
I think, yes, I am on. Good morning. I think everybody knows me. So, let's introduce. I am Juliette Simoneau, and I'm a practitioner here at the center. And I work in the office, and I have to tell you, sometimes I think I'm a fixture. Because I've been here for 24 years. So I am a part of I'm a fixture. So I'd like you to take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment, and connect with the energy that we started building a little while ago. An energy of unconditional love and healing. The Christ consciousness. Take a deep breath and bring it in, knowing that it is a part of who you are, at the very core of you. Allow that yourself to feel that energy through the day. So take a moment and come back into the room. In my quest for healing, I believe I've always tried to be healing whatever was happening in my life. But in my quest for healing the last many years, I've learned one thing, and that's healing occurs at many levels. We have a physical body, emotional body, spiritual body, mental, and now we're adding the astral body. Psychologists may not stop there, but this is where we're at today. Psychologists will tell you that the first 7 years of your life, there's an imprint created and is formed and will show you who you will become in life. Using that concept, an imprint has been made on your psyche that will create whatever illness in your future. Because quite the thought, right? So let's take me, for instance. I had to have a hip replacement. So what happened in my life that would create that possibility? Well, Louise Hay says, hip issues stem in not feeling supported in life. Well, if you know about me a little bit, that's quite obvious. Well, I was raised by parents who believed that women's roles were to get married, have babies, raise the babies, take care of the husbands, and everybody around you. And when my father actually said to my mother, when he died, she had to go too, which she was quite upset about, which I don't blame her, right? So, as a child in a family of 12, at the tail end of 8 boys, I was basically told, you belong in the house, you belong with mom, go back. So, I do have a few pictures that says I did go out there, and I did, but I was always helping in what needed to be done, like stacking the wood for the winter, that sort of thing. Otherwise, I was told to go back to the house. And so I felt very much segregated. I often respond when I'm asked about my life that it was like being in a convent. Now, my siblings did not experience the same thing. I had two sisters. One was 10 years and the other was 18 years older than I. And by the time I was walking around, they were gone. Now, out of my 8 brothers, not 2 of them had the same response. Not 2 of them has the same story. So I found that very interesting because I often would come out with stories after my parents, after my father passed away especially, would come out with stories of things that he had said. Nobody remembered. But it's very possible because I was the one that was in the house listening and hearing the things that were being discussed. Now, all of that has shown up in my life in one form or another through the years. But the hip has been the most visual. After I moved here to Red Deer, my dad had passed away and it was very freeing. I started looking for classes. I was looking for, not a church, because I was raised Catholic. I was looking for a center. And to me, this is not a church. This is a center of healing. A center of possibilities. So as you start taking the classes, you soon learn that the healing comes from within. You need to go within. The physical level, well, that's one thing. We go to a doctor, we find out, we figure out what to do, and we physically do it. On an emotional level, on a spiritual level, a mental level, you have to think it through. Your mind needs to be very much involved. So when you're taking classes, when I took my classes, it was with Reverend Judy mostly, Reverend Tress first and then Reverend Judy. And the books that we used were very much the books that are available right now. And they were about healing. They were about the psychology, the spirituality of ourselves. To me, they reconnected me to Jesus, to the Christ consciousness. And every lesson was a look within. Now, I'm going way off. It is look within. I learned how to meditate. I soon realized that meditation was something that I had already been using. It was my way of protecting myself as I was going through my childhood and my youth. I found myself reading books. That's why I really love having a book in my hand, not the electronics. It's just not the same. Having a book in your hand, reading, putting yourself into that story. So if you have a good story on spiritual and a very spiritual aspects of your life, it really helps to heal. I remember going to church with my father and sitting there and looking at him and looking at the priests and thinking, you guys don't know what you're talking about. That is not what Jesus was all about. He did not condemn people. He lived the Christ consciousness. He lived unconditional love. And as a child, I tell you, I knew that because I could go back and I would go into meditation and I was there. I would experience Jesus teaching. And that was the energy I always went to when I separated myself from the rambunctious, let's put it that way, boys. And it was my healing. It was how I dealt with life. So when I started meditating here, it was an amazing journey. I like the visualization like I did this morning because I can connect with the angels, I can connect with the beings that are so much part of our lives and maybe in a different dimension, but boy, can we connect. So I'm going to make myself a little bit of room here. In accessing different ways of healing, we learn that it takes a lot of courage. We need to bring back the gifts of courage, compassion, and connection. They're the tools for living a life wholeheartedly. Courage. Ordinary courage is about putting our vulnerability on the line. In today's world, that pretty well is extraordinary. Asking for what you need, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Take the time to say and understand you are not alone. Every time we choose courage, we make everyone around us a little bit better and the world a little braver. We need compassion. That has been the biggest lesson for me. To feel totally, completely loved and accepted at the same time. The heart of compassion is really acceptance. The better we accept ourselves and others, the more compassionate we become. How do you develop this kind of compassion in a world where our personal, social, and political worlds are screaming and finger-pointing? Where we really rarely hold people accountable. The first person we need to show compassion is ourselves. As we see our lives outside of our past experiences and training, we learn to forgive ourselves for whatever part we played in creating it. We need to forgive and let go. For me, the compassion, giving myself the forgiveness of whatever my part in creating the events in my life. I was a very quiet child. So I always thought, I didn't create this. I didn't get in your way. I was in my room. I don't need you to be screaming at me. But I had a part in it because I was there. I put myself in that position, I guess, to learn something. At this point, I'm not sure. I still don't like people screaming around me. I find it stirs something within me. I have to physically leave. I've gotten into the habit of going to one of my smoking friends and getting a smoke and going out and walking and smoking and letting go of the stress. So that was, and my friends think I'm crazy. How do you do that? Well, it just calms me down. But that may be last time I had a smoke was last fall, about a year ago. Before that, I believe it had been maybe something like 20 years, which was not too bad, a cigarette every 20 years, right? Okay, I can handle that. So as we learn to forgive ourselves, we become kinder to ourselves and others. But you also learn your boundaries. You learn to be accountable to yourself for your needs, for your choices in life. You take the time to learn about your boundaries, because for a while you don't have boundaries, because your boundaries are being stepped all over. So when you can give yourself boundaries, you become accountable and you expect others to be accountable. Understanding the connection between boundaries, accountabilities, acceptance, and compassion will definitely make us kinder people. This is where we learn to create boundaries in our relationships, whether that is with a partner, a child, a friend, or an acquaintance. I consider that to be a lesson you learn every day. It just dawned on me. I have a friend at the casino, and every time I introduce someone, he always says, "She's so sweet, isn't she?" And I go, "Why is he saying that?" She's so sweet. The connection is exactly this. The boundaries, we hold ourselves accountable, and we become kinder. So for him, I guess he sees that. Google says, I went to Google, the astral body is a subtle body posited by many philosophers, intermediate between the intelligent soul and the mental body. The mental body, I find, is part and parcel with your other, let me see, the physical, you need to have a connection with your mental. So I kind of meld it with the others. The astral is considered to be the vehicle of the soul. The astral spirit is made up of what is almost identical to the stars. So where does the astral body come in? Well, by using our astral and spiritual bodies together, we can learn how to meditate, connect with your higher self. Our higher self can guide us in our healing. I have come to realize that growing up, I spent a lot of time in the astral realm. I was often accused of daydreaming. I could project myself into the astral realm whenever things going on around me that I wasn't very interested in, that I didn't want to deal with. It was easier for me to be there than have to deal with the negativity, the anger, and the frustration that were happening all around me. I found it to be an escape. Unfortunately, somewhere along the way, I had to pick. And although I wanted to leave, I was told I was not. I had work to do. And so I had to finally make the decision to stay here, experience life, and create, in my experience, a more positive and loving environment. So I knew way back then that I could be safe when I was in the presence of Jesus. At one, I had to make the conscious choice. So, just so you know, the astral body is attached to your body by a silver cord. You can't just leave. So, there's not too much danger of you not coming back, unless you choose not to come back. So it all becomes a choice. So let's recap. Your experience here now has 5 bodies: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and astral. Healing affects all levels. What shows up into the physical has already been created in the mental, emotional body. It is what shows up in your physical is your body's way of saying, pay attention. So as we heal, it affects every moment of your life, every part of it, even when you're sleeping. Because when you're sleeping, you can also do much healing, because you can then connect. There's no blockage to connecting with your spiritual self, your higher self. And so, in the sleeping period, you can heal a lot. So let me leave you with an interesting thought. Many probably will have heard that before. In the process of you healing in this reality, you help the generations that came before you and those that are coming after you. I had been told many years ago, and it was 7 years, but lately I've been told 10. In the past and into the future, which means that this lifetime, you are very important in your healing. We are blessed to be able to create for our children and grandchildren a better life, whether they see it or not, because our children don't always see. I have 5 kids, and one's passed. My twins are very different and very much alike. And one, I can talk about all this stuff and not be judged, whereas the other one looks at me and goes, "Okay, Mom." One of my daughters will say, if there's someone around, "Don't worry, it's just Mom. It's okay, it's just Mom." But in every conversation, there's something about spirituality that comes in. And I find my ideas of spirituality is not very Catholic. Or at least that's not the impression I have. And even my oldest daughter, who I thought was very Catholic, is accepting my way of thinking. So maybe I've made some steps. So I know for you, as I know for myself, the experience of healing all the wounds of the past in the loving connection with Creator Source of all that is. I know this to be a healing journey for you, as it is for myself. I know this happens with ease and grace. I know this to be so, and so it is. Thank you.